I met a gypsy.
Tony and Cab and all those dudes, we're the first of its kind.
Yeah.
Where our kids have facial hair and we can do head-high aerials on a vert ramp.
Yeah, dude, Riley.
Yeah.
Riley is a pro skater.
I know.
And Tony is still a pro skater.
Yeah.
That's
He's
fucking
amazing, and he's still got balls of steel.
cool. Really?
Still, like the broken leg thing, I've said it a couple times now. I'm not exaggerating. I know the toughest people in the world, you know? I know the UFC champions of the world. They're the toughest dudes in the world. They're not as tough as Tony Hawk. Like, they don't know pain and commitment like he does.
Yeah.
To me, it's like Laird Hamilton or something, like big wave surfers that are just like, I've heard the story of a 100-foot wave and I took my wetsuit off to cut tourniquet or some shit and then naked on a jet ski and then he's back in the 100-foot surf. You're a fucking madman. Like, you're a proper madman. Like, if we go to battle, I want you on my team. Yeah. You're a warlord. Yeah. Tony Hawk doesn't really talk like that. You know, like I've never heard a story about where he's like, yeah, my leg it broke, but then when I tried to skate again, it separated again. So my bone was floating off the side of my leg, and I was still skateboarding. Like, he didn't know that it was off, but I knew something was wrong because we would skate, and it was super obvious that he was standing on one leg when he was skating.
Yeah.
But he's that good that he can use half a leg. And I'm like, it's just healing. And he's doing it too soon because it was way too soon. Dude, he had a compound fracture.
So when was this?
This is probably, I'm bad with time. 2 years ago?
Yeah, okay. So
Maybe.
the recent one that he had.
Yeah, he broke. It was the worst thing. It was like skateboarding died to me. Because it was like Bucky, myself, few of the older guys. We're skating, and Tony's still a man, like he can crack fives whenever you want. He's always been a guy that can do 540s easier than anybody that's ever done a 540. He just has them.
Yeah.
And him and Bucky were dropping into him. And instead of setting up, they would drop it in. And he just...
so like drop in.
No backs are there before it. Just drop in because you can't get the speed. But those two are so good that they'll get the spin anyway and make it.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there. And he he lands sideways, low, trying to squat it in. And then when he landed sideways, he went to his knees to the flat really hard. And he hit his knees so hard that his femur snapped and came out the side of his leg.
Fuck.
And his leg bent in a way where...
That's just not
real bad. You know what I mean? Like, at first I go, oh, he broke his knee in half. And then I see the bone slid back into his side of his leg. And I was like, oh, compound. Tony Hawk's
He's
got
human.
a compound.
He's human.
And we're 50. Like compound fractures when you're 50, it's different.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like that's a wrap. Like you're not coming back. And the shock, I'm in shock. He's in shock. I feel like the rest of us are in shock because it's like, it's not us, it's Tony.
It's skateboarding.
Tony doesn't have compound fractures. We do.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's broken. I'm like, dude, it's real broke, like, wow. And then we did a podcast. He calls me and goes, hey, can you come down? And I'm like, yeah, man, like whatever you need. He's like, I want to do a show, like keep people up to speed with what's going on so they know I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, dude, like so you're coming out of hospital and you want me to meet you at your house. So as soon as you're out of hospital, the first thing you do is a podcast with me. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. You're crazy. I knew he's a crazy guy, but not, I just always, because I'm like, I think I'm tough. You know what I mean? Because I fight and shit. And Tony's like, I'm not tough. I don't fight.
Yeah.
But he's tougher than I am because I'm like, that's a madman's decision. And then when we start doing the podcast, his wife comes in and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I didn't orchestrate this. He called me. I came because he called me. So but she was mad at both of us. And that was another thing where I was like, he's a madman. You know what I mean? Like, his wife is like, slow down. You know? And he's like, no, I got to talk about it. People need to know. And he's talking about how Vert Alert's coming and he's going to be in Vert Alert. And I'm like, wait, is that 2 months? I'm like, dude, you had a compound fracture in your leg I know, dude. I remember when I was 28, a guy had a compound fracture. He was out for a year, and he was 28. What are you talking about? But he started skating. He would fall and barely be able to get back up from falling, and I'd be like, "That's it." And then he's up the stairs on top of the ramp, and I'm like, "What? What's going on, dude?" Yeah. And then it got to the point where this is when it detached, and he didn't know something was up, and it was hurting him more, and you could tell. And I guess he knew he was on the quarter pipe in the street course, and he went to get out, and he put the broken leg down, and something slipped. He didn't know at the time, but that's the bit that made it separate. He did a backside boneless on a leg the leg that he stood on was a leg where the bone is over here, not on. And he did a backside so he stood on a leg with that's broken and made it. That's this guy. Then when he fell on something, he could barely get up. I hope he doesn't mind me telling this story. But he goes around the back to the street course, right? Because he's mangled. He could barely walk. And we're all silent, because it's like when Tony's, not everybody, but to me, when Tony's really hurt, I feel it. Because he is skateboarding to me. Like, I look up to the guy, and he's down, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I hate seeing you down, And he goes over the street course, and I'm skating, and I'm up on the deck, and I look over, and I see him on the street course. He's sitting on the box with the skateboard next to him, and he's just looking at it. And I'm like, he's contemplating it being over right now. Like, I'm watching the great Tony Hawk think about the end. And I'm like, this is so sad. Like, I don't even really want to skate anymore. And then, like, 5 minutes later, he comes walking up the stairs. And I'm like, are you gonna skate? I didn't say it. I just was like, is he gonna? And then he dropped in, skated. Fuck. And I'm like, and then he goes and gets it checked out, and they go, yeah, man, your leg's separated. They put another rod in it. They put it back in.
Wow.
It took his time.
That's a bad injury too. Like to have to put a rod in. Like
another rod. Another one. Another already had one. Ugh. So then there's that. And then he did pace himself a little bit that time. He did the rehab. He was by the book this time. He didn't try to like be in the demo because he realized he jumped the gun. And then
your body's just different at that age.
Slowly but surely, he just started skating. He looked better straight away. So it was like, okay, because we're a little bit doctors ourselves because of how many injuries we've all had. And I'm like, you look like your bone is attached to your leg now. I'm not a doctor, but it does look good. And he's like, I feel like it's on there. And I'm like, I think we're good. And then the only thing he had was he can't tuck his knee like he used to. So he couldn't, when he does hand plants, he does tuck knee ones. And I was like, do it between the leg. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he started doing hand plants between the leg just so that he could still do hand plants. And then he still finds it difficult to get that knee to come in.
Yeah.
But he's learned, I don't know, like 5 or 6 tricks that he's never done before in the last year. After all that, at 55. Like the other day I skated with him. He did what is it? Some fakey shove it feeble, some shit that no one's ever.
Some PlayStation,
dude.
Yeah,
doesn't end, doesn't stop. There's nowhere near ending.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.